Okay, so let us start with presenting the screen. So since we have almost completed the module 3, let's have a quick recap of whatever the things that we have discussed in module 3. And if you have any doubts, we can address those doubts before concluding the whole module. Right? So this is the overview of the syllabus. This is the syllabus. As you can see, we discussed 4 chapters here in the module 3. That is, first one being the pattern matching with regular expression, right? Reading and writing files, organizing files, and lastly, debugging. So mostly in this third module, what we discussed, just to put it into a nutshell, uh, in the first 2 modules, module 1 and 2, we discussed about the basics of the Python, but in the module 3, we used those basics to make the things automated, right? We discussed few some small programs which does the small task but automate the task, right? So, for example, email detector or password locker, right? And then zipping a particular file, identifying the regular expression, email ID, USN. We saw different examples, right, with respect to programs. Then the date format and those things. So these are very basic things which we usually do manually, but on a bigger scale, if we want to automate it, then how Python can be helpful to automate these simple tasks, right? So this was the crux of the module 3 that we have seen. But let us go and understand how did we do that, right? So we started off with the detecting a pattern, right? Matching a particular pattern. So in order to understand the value of how pattern matching is important, we first discussed problems that how not making use of the pattern or not making use of the regular expression for matching the pattern can be cumbersome. Right. For example, we saw finding pattern of text without the regular expression. And as you can see, we discussed the problem of phone number. The length of the code here, as you can see, it is more than 15 lines. But same problem when we discuss using a regular expression, when we define a regular expression, then how that problem can be solved within, and it can be the whole program can be replaced with just few lines of codes, right? So we saw an example of that with respect to this. You can see here that matching regular expression object, right? And just 4 to 5 lines of code can replace that whole 15 lines of code, right? So just to put it into an overview, we did that regular expression using the module called RE, which is the module important for dealing with the operations with respect to the regular expression. So we have to import that module. We have to use a compiler using re.compile function, right? And of course, don't forget to add the raw string character there. Then we used the search method and matched the object, and those matched objects were stored into a variable, and then we ultimately grouped it. Right. So this was just the overview which we have already seen, and we also saw some additional pattern matching, techniques. For example, grouping up with the parentheses. This was again helpful when we took an example of the phone number, how we can form group within the phone number, right? For example, the area code or the subscribers number and those things. So initials, you can perform a group in that. Then matching multiple groups with a pipe, right? We had an example of a statement. This simple example that Batman, Batwoman, and Batman and Tina Fey. How can we match these multiple groups, right? Though the Python doesn't allow to have this matching multiple groups, but because of the usage of pipe, that is the binary or operator here, binary or, which helps us to match the two strings or two text for that matter. So using this binary operator, we can make use of the matching multiple groups in single statement. Then we saw optional matching, right? Optional matching, we again we saw an example of Batman and Batwoman. So where WO is optional, right? WO is optional inside the parenthesis and followed by that question mark. So that becomes an indication for the Python to understand that everything within that parenthesis is optional. right? So matching for matching a particular pattern, it can be without that text or it can be with that text, that is including that text or without including that text. So question mark was the optional matching. Then we saw also example of matching zero or more, right? Zero or more occurrences of a particular text. How? Same thing. Instead of question mark, we used asterisk symbol, which is star symbol, which denotes zero or more occurrences of a particular match. Then what if we want to match one or more, right? What for one or more we saw the character used was plus symbol. Then for matching specific repetition with curly brackets, we used the curly brackets, right? For example, here, wherein the number inside that curly bracket denotes the number of occurrences, right? And if you give multiple values, that denotes range of that particular, word or a pattern that you want to match within a string. So if you give 3 comma 5, that means either minimum 3 occurrences will be matched, maximum 5 occurrences will be matched, right? And hence the expression you can see here 3 times HA followed by separated by a pipe character here, then 4 occurrences and then ultimately 5 occurrences. So this is multiple occurrences. Then we saw difference between the greedy and the non-greedy matching, right? And if you can recall, we mentioned that by default Python considers it as a greedy matching because it searches for maximum number of occurrences in the particular text that you want to match with, right? So when you go for pattern matching, Python will by default consider the largest or the longest match, right? But in case if you want to have a non-greedy matching, then how can we make use of that? So we saw an example of that as well, right? So we used an example here, greedy HAREGX, that is the regular expression for HA. And also we saw a non-greedy approach for that. The find all method, which is almost similar to the search method, but what find all does it uh, lists out all the strings, right? As long as there are no groups in the regular expression. So there shouldn't be any groups in the regular expression for that. So that is the prerequisite for find all. But it's a good replacement for the search method. And the different character classes we saw, which you are already aware with, right? The shorthand expressions for these character classes. We also went ahead to create our own class, right? For example, we created a class for the vowels, right? Both the lowercase and the uppercase vowels, and finding the vowels in a particular set of characters, or a string, you can say, or a statement. Then we also saw how can we negate this regular expression, right? For example, here, this code, it denotes that we are searching for the vowels in a particular string. But what if we want uh, everything excluding the vowels? That in that case, we have to negate the character class, and we negate the character class using a simple character called caret character, right? So this is an example of negating a character class, and as you can see, everything is printed except the vowels in that statement. Then what is the use of this character, the caret and the dollar symbol, right? So the caret is actually denotes the start of the regular expression and dollar denotes the end of the regular expression. The wildcard character we saw, that is the dot character, which is used to match any character except for a new line, that is slash n or slash t. Those space characters it will not be considered. Otherwise, it will match everything. So yeah, matching everything with the dot star. So dot, as I said, it is the wildcard character, but which is used to match everything, and followed by dot star means anything that is followed by that, right? So that is also be matched. These are the simple examples which you have seen, which can be combined. These character can be combined with other set of special characters. For example, matching everything but optional. So if you want to give an optional there by amending it with a question mark, then matching new lines with the dot character. We saw different reviews of these things. Then case insensitive matching. right? We took an example of ignore case, the verbose, right? And substituting the string using the method called sub. So sub was used to substitute. With the example that we saw was the secret agent's name, right? So we want to censor the agent's name. So instead of identifying the name everywhere, we have to just put it into this regular expression and this method called sub method, which will identify the name and as well as replace that name with a new set of characters that you have given, right? So the first parameter is the string that you want to substitute, the new string that you want to substitute. Second argument is the original string in which you want to substitute it. Then we saw a different example of managing the little more complicated regular expression, but in simple terms, right? We saw an example of this verbose and area code defining it, combining these verbose and uh, ignore case letters with the dot all, right? Of course, we cannot, the Python doesn't allow us to combine these things, but as I said, the pipe character, which is the bitwise OR operator, it gives us the other way to do it, right? It is, you can say, it is the bypassing the original way to implement it, but using the pipe character, you can bypass the original approach, but still achieve the task wherein you can combine these methods, that is ignore case, dot all, and verbose method. Then we saw an example of the phone number and email address extractor, which a few of you have already executed and given me the output. Others, I don't know why they are waiting for, but you have to attach that as your assignment, right? Soon you'll be getting the Google form for that. So this was just about the pattern matching that we saw, right? Automating the things with pattern matching. But we went ahead to discuss the aspect of how can we handle these files and how can we uh, do this matching, pattern matching, as well as doing some kind of operations like renaming a file or other things, right? So in order to understand that, we have to understand the file structure, right? What are the different types of files, what are paths, what are directories, what are documents, right? So we had a brief understanding of this, which you guys are already aware with, right? Then the backslash on Windows and the forward slash on OS X and Linux is used to represent the path, right? So in case if you are using Windows, you can see that the path, you'll see backslashes in the path, but in the operating system 10 and the Linux, you will see forward slash in the path, right? So in order to operate anything with respect to this file, that is reading a file or writing a file or any operation, for that you have to import the module OS, right? So once you import OS, only then other operations you can do on top of it. For example, joining it or splitting it, renaming it, right? The current working directory we saw, absolute and relative path. This is again very important from the examination point of view. What is absolute path? What is relative path? So absolute path is the path wherein we have the root folder also, right? The path start with the name of the root folder, but the relative path is the path which starts with the folder in which you currently are, right? Your current working directory. So we saw a representation of relative path as well as the absolute path. Then creating a new folder using os.make dir directory. os.path module we saw, if you want to operate anything with respect to path, modifying the path, renaming a path, right? Accessing a particular path, then you have to make use of os.path module. Yeah, so just to give you a syntax of it, if this is the path, so everything before the last backslash, you can say, is directory name, right? And after the backslash, everything after the backslash is actually the base name. So these are again very single one line instructions, you can say, which are used to do some kind of operations. For example, if you want to get the size of a particular file, you can make use of the method called os.path.getSize, right? if you want to have the listing of the directories, os.list directory. So these are simple one-liner instructions which helps you, get some details. For example, os.path.exist. It will let you know whether path, that particular path, whichever the path that was given as the input, that path is a valid path or not, right? Whether that path exists or not. Then if you try to uh, give the path of a particular file, and if you use os.path.is file, it will let you know whether it's a file or no by returning it true or false. Similarly for directory, os.path.is directory. So these are single liner instructions which you don't have to much worry, you don't have to worry much about it. Just remember these commands. These are the simple commands which you have to remember, and how to execute those commands, which are the modules that you have to import to execute these commands. Then we saw file reading and writing process, right? Using again simple functions: open a file, read a file, write into it, or amend into it, right? By giving different permissions, writing permission or amending permission. And once you're done with that, you can close it. Right. So again, very important. This is also very important. The important aspect that we discussed, that is saving variables. Right. How do we save variables? Because as you can see so far, whatever programs that we used to write, when we execute a particular variable, that variable will be there only with respect to that session. Once you close that session, once you close that environment, the Python ideally environment, that variable will be cleared from the memory. But let's say that you want to use that variable in the future also, then you can save that variable, right, in the Python module, in the Python ideally. How to save that variable? Using this shelf module, which helps you to save a particular variable. You can say that variable is saved globally, and next time when you want to execute any program, that variable can be called and it will be available. Right? We also saw the pprint.p format, which is used to print a pretty printing format, which basically does the task of presenting the output in a better manner. Then we saw a program that is generating random quiz. Right? We created a few set of questions. We shuffled those questions in between them. We shuffled the options in between them. Right? We created the answer options, and then we ultimately presented a form, right, to the uh, whoever who wants to take that quiz. Right? Form something like that: name, the date, or the duration, or the period uh, of the test, and then some questions. It can be anything. Then we also saw the multi-clipboard, copying the you know copying a particular text and saving it to an internal clipboard and those things. So how can we make use of multiple clipboards using Piper Clip module? And in the third chapter of module 3, we saw organizing files. Organizing again, renaming a particular file type using different utilities, right? So if you want to make use of these utilities, you have to import a module called shell utility module, which is in short is SHUTIL, which is utility module, right? So that module allows us to give, allows you to operate a lot of things, that copying a particular file from one path to another path, moving it from one place to another, renaming it, deleting it, right? So it's a basic utility module to operate basic things, right? So we saw how to copy. These are very single liner instructions again, right? There is no much depth explanation with respect to this. These are this just one liner, instructions that you have to remember. For example, if you have to copy, you have to just make use of this command called shuttle.copy followed by the path name, right? And of course, since you are copying a file, you have to give the source of the copy and the destination of the place that you where you want to copy, right? So these are the simple syntax. There is no much theory about it. There is not much really content about it which can be explained. You have to remember these commands, and you have to use it in a bigger programs or a bigger projects. Right? So moving and renaming, simple command again, shuttle.move. Right? Renaming, shuttle.rename. Permanently deleting a file, os.unlink. There are three ways to do it: unlink a path, or remove that directory, or remove that particular branch from the tree itself. Right? So that is three ways to delete a file or a directory. Safe way to delete the directory is to simply send it to the trash, right? So in order to make use of this internal trash of the memory, you have to import the module called send to trash. So what it will do is your data will be there, it will be unlinked from the main path, but that data will be there in the trash. So in future, if you want to retrieve that data again, you can move it from the trash with your appropriate directory where you want to move it. So walking a directory tree is, you guys are already familiar with it, how a directory would look like. The simple command for that is os.walk. Right. So having been discussed about these things, we went out to discuss the aspect of, how can we zip a file, compressing a particular file and zipping into some context. So we saw an example for that also. Let me show you. Yeah. So this was just the date format for which the code is already available. We created a regular expression for the American style date and the European style date. So it is similar to what we have done in the date format, the phone number format. What you have to do is you have to simply create the regular expression for it, for both for the American style date, for the European style date. You have to identify the date part from that whole regular expression. And ultimately you have to create a new file to rename it from American style to Europe style. So that's a very simple task. You can simply go through the code and you can perform it. Then backing up a folder into a zip file. We created a zip file using a module called zip module, right? And renaming a new file, adding and amending new files into it using different permissions mode, right? And ultimately, in the chapter 10, that is the fourth chapter in module 3, we discussed about how can we go about and detect the error or a bug inside the program, right? So we saw three different approaches. That is, first one being raising an exception, right, using try and except statement. Then we took an example of assertions, right? We saw this example of creating a box, right, using the symbol. The basic agenda there was to create an exception there. What were the exceptions? The exception number one was to mention or prompt the user that width must be greater than 2. Right? Width of what? Width of the box should be greater than 2. That was the first exception. Second exception was the symbol must be a single character string. That means it can be a single asterisk or a single O or a single zero symbol, whatever, but it has to be single, right? In order to make it a box. Then we saw example of getting the traceback. How can we get or how can we detect a bug inside the program using the traceback? So traceback is nothing but it is the information provided by the Python regarding the error, right? It just gives us the sequence of calls, which is also called call stack, right? It gives us the sequence of those calls, which helps us to understand where till what point we are right and where are we going wrong, right? So that's one way to debug a program. So we created a program, we purposely added an error into that program so that we get to know where are we going wrong. Right? And the third way to debug was the assertions, right? Which is nothing but a sanity check. It is a check. The assertions are check that if so and so instructions or codes is doing something, correctly or no. So if the data or if the code is not doing correctly, then there is definitely some error or some bug inside that code. So assertions are, you can say, basically we all have used assertions, kind of assertions. Like I mentioned when we have discussed this topic, we all have used the printfs the print command to keep a track of where are we going wrong in the program. For example, if you are making some calculations, so just to make sure that your calculations are right, you sometimes print that variable to check the value inside that variable, whether it is updating or not. But the question is, how many times should we use that print command? And once we are done with those debugging in that particular program, then removing those unnecessary print statements becomes a hectic job, right? So assertions are better replacement for those. Assertions can simply can be implemented using this assertion error. We have to make use of this statement, and assertion error will let us know whether where are we going wrong. And the best part about the assertion is you can simply disable those assertions, right? You don't have to remove those assertions from the code. You can simply disable these assertions using hyphen zero option, right? Hyphen zero will help you to just disable the assertions. So assertions will be there in your program, but will not be used, right? I'm talking from the point of view wherein you have debugged all your error and you no more have errors in your program. So in that case, assertions can be disabled. Then another way of debugging is logging. Logging is very popular again. Logging is basically the data of whatever the operations which are done with respect to executing that particular file. So it's a additional information provided by the that particular operating system, you can say. So in order to use that logging modules, you have to import that logging module and configure that logging. So we saw different levels in the logging, right? We saw five levels in logging, that is debug, which is very initial level or lower level of debug, you can say debugging. And then info, logging.info, logging.warning, logging.error, and logging.critical, which is the highest level of debugging, highest level of logging. And as assertions can be disabled, the loggings can also be disabled using simple line, just one line, that is logging.disable. That's it. As you can see, logging.disable and followed by the level of which you want to disable it, right? So logging.critical level. And at the end of it, we saw the inbuilt version of the debugger that Ideally has provided us, that is inside the Ideally platform, the interactive shell, right? So we have the debugger present inside that. You can go to the debug tab and then click on the debugger, which will get you to the debug control window. So this is the control window wherein you have five buttons and some four operations, right? The four information, that is stack, local, source, and global, right? And you can perform five operations with respect to this debugging process. What are these five operations? First one being the go up. The go button helps you to execute normally, right? Normally debug the program unless it reaches the termination condition. So basically in debug mode, the program execution will take little more time compared to a normal execution what we do. Because normal execution what we do, it is a fast forward way of executing. But in the debug mode, the Python or any any environment which is executing the code slows down the execution because it takes every instruction one by one and execute that instruction one by one and then goes to the next instruction. It doesn't skip any instructions there. So, but still we can do skipping of those steps and those things when we are performing debugging using these commands like step, which is actually stepping into. So, for example, if you use this step button, it will execute the next line of the code and then pause again, right? So it will only execute that particular instruction. Then over is nothing but stepping over. For example, if you want to execute few statements, but there are some functions into it, the step over button will ignore those function calls and it will skip to the next line, right? Out, which is nothing but step out. For example, what it does it, it debugs to execute lines of code at full speed until it reaches until it returns from the current function, right? So if there is a function which is getting executed, it executes the complete instruction at full speed and it returns from the current function, right? So it basically comes out of that particular function, stepping out, right? And quit is nothing but quitting it from the debug mode. So the moment you click on quit, you will be out from the debug mode and you will be into a normal execution. So we saw a simple example of debugging a number adding program, right? First number, second number, and third number. So the error with respect to this was these are just the string, right? How do we know that it's a string? When we debug it, as you can see, when we debug the first line, second line, third line, and so on, when we debug the seventh line, we get to know that these are not the numbers. Let me zoom it in more. These are not the numbers, but they are the strings, right? The first number, which is actually 5, number 5, it's not number 5, it is string 5. And second number, which is 3, it is string 3. And third number, number 42, it is string 42. So when we add these things, instead of getting 3 plus 5 plus 3 plus 42, which is 50, we were getting a number like this, right? The sum is 5342. So instead of getting 50, which is 5 plus 3 plus 42, output should be 50, but we get 532. So there is, according to the Python program, there is no error, but there is a bug. Right? There is a bug inside this program. That is the operation or the answer that we were expecting was not right. Right. So the reason was these were string. So these string has to be converted into numbers, right? A decimal number, and then we can perform the operation. So that was the bug with respect to it. Breakpoint, we are already aware with it. Breakpoint is the point at which it's a specific line of the code which forces the debugger to pause, right? Pause whenever the program execution reaches that particular breakpoint. So that was all about the module 3 in all. So as you can see, let me show you this syllabus again. That as you can see, there are a lot of things which has to be discussed in module 3, but they are very, very basic things. Right? Compared to module 1 and module 2, module 3 is little lengthier, but it is, you have to just touch upon those things. They are not much into detail. There is not much content to be discussed with respect to these topics, but you have to just understand. So even if you just go through it, you will understand that for what operation what command has to be used, right? For example, like I want to rename a particular file, then how can how can I rename that particular file? If I have to open or create a new file, how can I create a new file, add some detail into it, amend some detail, right? There's a difference between writing and amending, right? Which we have already discussed. So how can I write into a file and how can I amend some details into a file? How can I delete that file? How can I permanently delete? How can I, safe delete that file? And then how can I close that file? So there are a lot of operations that we have done in this module 3. So which makes this module little lengthier, but it is actually very easy to understand. So though we have 4 chapters in this module, they are very small, small chapters and very easy to understand chapters. Right. So apart from this, if you have any doubt, we can have doubts session open. Anybody having any doubt with respect to module 3? Because in the next class onwards, we are going to start off with the module 4. Yeah, anybody, any doubt? What about others? Please respond, those who have doubts. Where is Omkar Khut? Omkar Khut has some doubts. Omkar, are you there? Oh, I think he's not there today. Sanket and Prajit says no doubt. What about others? We still have 10 minutes time. If you have doubts, you can ask. We can clear the doubts with respect to module 3, and then only we can move to module 4. Yeah, anybody who want to ask anything with respect to module 3? I can understand it is a little lengthier. It looks lengthier. It is not actually lengthier. This model looks lengthier, but it is a very easy. There are very small things which are discussed. Okay, then if there are no doubts, then we shall conclude the lecture. You are free to leave the meeting room. If you have any doubts, you can approach me anytime. Thank you.